So I'm just coming on to just share what I think most people. Hold on. What I think most people know already, common sense wise. Don't listen to anything or anyone else beside yourself and your doctors when it comes to your health. Fastest reply I've ever received from my doctor, although he is quick to reply. My one doctor is extremely quick to reply no matter what. But just to sum it up for you guys, ever since the flood happened in my kitchen and upon cleaning it up, I pulled 2 muscles and pretty sure I pinched a nerve. So I was like, okay, I've been here before, I know what to do. It's gonna, get in my way, but not for an extreme amount of time. I know what to do here. Well, what's continued to occur is I've been having consistent, and when they happen, they're pretty constant, whether it lasts a minute, 5 minutes, half an hour. I've been having these muscle spasms that they very much feel the exact same way it felt when I was having muscle spasms when I had COVID. Remember that COVID and mono at the same time and needed a biopsy for the potential cancer that I might have had at the time? You know, that whole 4-month period where I was just lying and lying and lying. You'll remember. I'm sure. So, that's what the muscle spasms feel like. That's the best way that I can describe how they just come out of nowhere, and like the severity of them and the frequency of them, and just not knowing what else is going on. And so when it continued, I thought, and to say it continued is not really the right word, because when this first occurred, where I pulled 2 muscles and was pretty sure I pinched a nerve, I wasn't having muscle spasms like this. So I don't know. At first I was like, maybe that led to this, and then I was thinking, as much as I hydrate, maybe I'm dehydrated or my electrolytes are off, to which the one person I said this to was like, I don't think it's either. Really? I need to not listen to people when I know better, when I've already been through something like this. But the reason I listened was because I felt very I don't know what exactly the right word is, but I guess you would say I felt very bullied into believing this was not the cause, that I was just making up an excuse for whatever, and this was not something to be taken seriously. Just wasn't a serious thing. It was no big deal. Don't look further into it, and you're definitely not dehydrated, your electrolytes are definitely balanced, etc. So finally, it's been days of this going on, if not over a week. I put in a note into my chart, because with this particular doctor, it seems that that will get the fastest response. I think he checks my chart more often maybe than he checks like voice messages that are left, or it's not, you can't even leave a voice message, it's whoever answers the phone which they're just receptionists, so to try to have them write the correct message that you're trying to get across to your doctor is sometimes challenging. Like, I've had to spell words for them, and I'm like, you work in a doctor's office, get it together. But luckily I know how to spell this. Well, yeah, can you just get the correct note to my doctor? Like, for God's sake. But I also want to be like, who hired you? Like, who's doing the hiring with these people? Like, you gotta have some type of health experience. If they don't even know how to spell half the words that I'm saying, this is a problem, because then they can't leave the correct message to send to my doctor. But that's a subject for a different time. So, I wrote a message, and I just was very, pretty detailed, and explained what was happening, what preceded this, and I said, do you think that there's any chance I'm going through the same thing that, or even partially, going through the same thing that landed me in the hospital on my 18th birthday, to which that's what I did for my 18th birthday, and was there for days. Got a response right away. Not even on my chart. Called me. And I was like, oh. Okay. Something is, like, he's taking this. I was like, that's a sign of, he's reading what he's reading, and there's something more urgent that he needs to speak to me about than just replying to the message in my chart. So, 18th birthday, I'll just sum it up like I have before. Your belief is, I don't care. But I had the flu. Like the flu or a cold. Couldn't keep anything down. Kept throwing up. Pretty much knew I was dehydrated. But then my stomach started to hurt. I just had, like, just pain. So went to the emergency room, me and both my parents, and they were so confused by what was wrong with me at first that they put me in a special room, where it was like, I don't know, it was so, like, it was the emergency room, but it was, like, sealed because they were not sure before doing further testing if I had anything that was, like, super contagious or anything. Like, they were in head to toe, like, basically what we saw happening during COVID, like, just nearly, like, hazmat suits kind of thing. My parents were allowed in the same room. I think basically my mom forced it, and my dad just went along, whatever. He definitely was not in the room because he was concerned. So they did a bunch of testing. They had to take artery, or blood from the artery in my wrist, which, let me tell you guys, one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. So it came to be that I was, at that time, specifically, pretty much circling the drain. There's what's called a triangle of death, and one of the points on it is acidosis. I was fully acidotic. So they did more testing to see how the heck this happened. Came to be I was iron deficient, extremely iron deficient, I think 1 to 2 points away from having to have a blood transfusion, and then I was extremely B12 deficient. So, right away, put me on iron pills, and they gave me B12 shots one shot a week for 5 weeks, like the very, I think, maximum dosage of that. And then after the shots, I just did they're like whatever form you want, as long as it's this, whatever strength they had put at the time. And I continued with the iron and all of that, even though it messed up my stomach greatly. So, but I was thinking, I've been eating okay, but at the same time, I have not eaten, like, actual meat that I, like, that's proper, I guess you would say, to increase your iron levels since 2023. So when my doctor called back, he goes, Kara, this is looking like your 18th birthday. Okay. Not freaking out. I already kind of had a feeling maybe that was what was going on. No way to know for sure. You gotta go in for the blood test, right? Said, what has your diet been like? What is your, what have you been eating? Because that was part of the problem when you were 18. I just wasn't eating meat. I wasn't a huge fan. I was going to school, and like my biggest meal that I would have was a tamale and french fries. So it was very clear and made total sense, like, why I was B12 and iron deficient. Although they were kind of surprised how deficient I was, and they're like, how long, though, has this been your diet? Because you're so deficient, we're going to do another test to see if you have the intrinsic factor, which means, are you actually absorbing the B12, the little bit that you eat? They did that test, and they were shocked to see that I was, in fact, absorbing it correctly. I just wasn't eating it. So, once they see that, then there's no reason to test for that again, because you don't all of a sudden stop absorbing it. So he asked me, and I went over some things, and he's like, okay. He goes, okay, well, what I'm not hearing, though, is meat. He's like, McDonald's burgers don't count. He's like, so, like, are you getting any type of iron, like, he's like, are you having, like, ever, like, just a different type of burger? He's like, are you ever having, like, a lean cut of, like, steak? To which I literally burst out laughing. I said, I can't financially afford that. Just can't. I'm like, even at the cheapest cut. And he's like, well, we don't want that, because that's not going to have enough iron. It's the lean meats. And so I said, yeah, that makes sense, but I said, I just can't afford it. Like, it's not even crossed my mind, because it's well beyond my scope of affordability. So he said, well, two things. Because you already due to come in for your thyroid blood draw. He's like, now I'm gonna add to it iron and B12. Okay. But I said, in the interim, what am I supposed to do? So I said, these keep occurring. I have to work. But, like, clearly, if you get a muscle spasm in your leg or back or something like that, and it lasts a few minutes, it's not the safest to be behind the wheel And even if I'm not at the moment behind the wheel, it's not the most conducive to doing your job correctly, or doing it in the time frames, meeting the goals that they want you to, all of that kind of stuff. So, and then I went over with him what I did for work, because I did told him before, but I think he forgot that part anyway. So he said, well, it does definitely sound like, he goes, if you're not dehydrated, which I would be surprised if you're not, he goes, your electrolytes are definitely not balanced. He's like, I can say that, I can tell you that without having to look at you, without having to do any type of testing. Felt like saying, well, I was told by somebody who's a know-it-all that that was not an issue. And I stupidly listened because I felt less than. I felt like I was being chastised. I felt like this person was just looking at me like this person is just making another excuse for why they can't do certain things, and I'm just sick of hearing it. That's what I felt like. So I just, yeah, you're right. I'm not dehydrated. My electrolytes are probably balanced. You're totally right. You're not a doctor. You have no clue. And you haven't even really listened to me when I've talked about my history with that. So, but yeah, you're right. You're right. Because I don't want to get into a disagreement or just, yeah, you're right. But on my own, secretly, without saying anything, because I'm like, I don't want to be told. Because here's the thing. I know my body. I know what I've been through before. I know when my electrolytes are not balanced. I know when I'm dehydrated. It takes more to keep me not dehydrated than other people, but I've been through this so many times. I know better than some know-it-all who thinks they know better about my health than myself or my doctor. Okay? So that's just a PSA of, like, for anyone else out there, go with your gut. Go with your own personal experience. Don't ask friends or people who are supposed to be friends, whatever you want to call them. Go with your own gut, your own experience, and if you have any questions, ask your doctor. Don't let yourself feel less than. Don't let yourself be convinced that nothing is wrong or this particular thing is not wrong because somebody else is saying so. No. Go with your gut. Call your doctor. It's that simple. So long story short, because I don't want to give, whatever. It is what it is. I'm sick of, like, just being made to feel all different types of ways that I am like, I just can't win. Like, nothing I say or do is ever gonna be good enough. And it's always gonna be this person knows better. Because they're just one of those people that's like, I know better, even than doctors. Like, I'm right, I'm always right. That's the end all be all. And don't ever try to tell me anything different. So, I have been not just hydrating, but trying to balance my electrolytes with Gatorade. I did tell this person, like, I got one Gatorade. I got more than one. Because I also didn't want to be chastised about how much money I was spending on Gatorade. So, I got more, because one is not gonna, when your electrolytes are truly off balance, and if they're off balance enough, it's gonna take more than just one Gatorade. Also, the same person months ago had said that they were getting me something to help with my electrolytes. Another empty I don't know what you would call it, gesture or empty words. Never have. So my doctor at this point is like, alright, you already have this scheduled date to come in for your thyroid blood draw. We'll do the other blood draws at the exact same time so I don't have to get poked twice. And he's like, in the interim, he's like, I understand that you need to work. He's like, but you also need to be safe. He's like, because if you're behind the wheel, something like this happens and you get into a crash that's fatal, it's irrelevant if the muscle spasms continue. It's, everything becomes irrelevant. And I said, oh, I'm very aware. Like, I am more cautious than not, which ticks people off because they think I'm just making excuses. And he goes, hold on, who are these people? And I said, oh, I have this. And he goes, do not listen to those people. He's like, it's the worst place you can go. Like, absolutely doing yourself a disservice. He's like, you know your history. Your doctors know your history. It is absolutely irrelevant. And he's like, most of these people who comment, like, and say things that are not accurate or really want to find fault in you or really want to believe that this is not going on. He's like, he goes, there's the amount of sociopaths. Didn't even say any other word. He's like, sociopaths. He's like, don't take any of that and internalize it, or what was the word he used? Don't take it to heart. Said I have not really, but I said in my private life, I have at times with different people throughout the years, but recently just one, where I have taken things to heart and I have thought, oh, I'm just thinking crazily, or like, it's just my anxiety making me think that. And he's like, was it your anxiety that made you go to the hospital when you were 18? Is that why you spent days in the hospital? No. It was because you were acidotic, iron deficient, B12 deficient, and you were circling the drain. I said, yeah, that's a fact. It had nothing to do with my anxiety. So he said, the only thing I can tell you, because he's like, I cannot, I can tell you what to do, but I can't be there to ensure that you listen to me. He's like, so, first thing that you're going to do, it's like, you have to get your electrolytes balanced. It's like, continue with the Gatorade. And then I did say I've eaten a few bananas. He's like, that's fine, there's potassium in the Gatorade, but he goes, continue with that. He said, if you have B12 and iron right now, he goes, I would start taking it. I said, I do have B12, that's not expired, but I said, iron, I don't. Because I said it was always upsetting my stomach. So I said, with that, I really actually didn't take it for as long as they wanted me to, because it was so harsh on my stomach, but I changed my diet so much that I was getting enough iron in what I was eating. So he understood that, but he's like, he goes, I would definitely do the iron pills. I know it upsets your stomach, but you've got to raise that level. He's like, I can only imagine that he goes, I don't know without doing the blood draw. He's like, but from what you wrote and what you're saying to me, he's like, I don't think it's any worse than when you were 18. But he goes, it's probably about the same. He's like, so I would not ignore it. I wouldn't just depend on food at this time. He's like, you're going to have to struggle through it upsetting your stomach for a bit until the level is up more. Okay. Not thrilled, because it really does upset my stomach. Like, more than... I don't know what's worse, that or spicy foods, but really upsets my stomach. So, and then I'm like, I've got to get iron. This B12 I have, but iron I don't. So I'm like, even though that's whatever, a few bucks, like, it's money I don't have. Although upon saying that, I realized that there is iron behind the pharmacy, and as long as he writes a prescription for it, my insurance will pay for it. Didn't know if you guys knew that. Like, there's money in over-the-counter thing, whether it's kept behind the pharmacy or not, that they can try to bill your insurance for, regardless of what insurance you have. But the catch is that your doctor has to write a prescription for it, and most people don't know, because they just don't ever look beyond what they're being told by their doctor, or whomever, that the doctor can write the prescription for anything. Anything. That's the only way that the pharmacy can try to bill the insurance. Sure, the insurance can still come back and deny it, but we can't even attempt to bill it unless the doctor writes a prescription for it. So that's just to say, like, anything that you would get over the counter, tell your doctor, write me a prescription for it so the pharmacy can try to bill my insurance and see if it's paid for that way. If it comes back denied, it's denied. But we can't even attempt to bill the insurance without a prescription. Just an FYI. Like, for anything. Regular plain Tylenol. Regular Claritin. Anything. And if anybody wants to say that that is untrue, you are lying. The amount of times that I billed insurances for things that were absolutely over the counter, that there were generics over the counter, but because the doctor had written it on a prescription, as long as there's an NDC number for the drug, which there's never not, they can at least look at, I mean, you get the claim back right away, whether it's denied or covered. So it's just the amount of people paying for things that don't have to pay because they don't know any better is outrageous. But if you never ask, then you wouldn't know. And most people in the pharmacy world will not just offer this information, which I don't know why. It's never doesn't affect their paychecks, but it's just the case. Now, feel free to disagree with me, but again, you haven't a clue of what you're saying. That's just simple facts. I did this for eons. Nothing has changed. So, there's that. So he said, he's like, you know, he's like, I hear, you know, I get that you're trying to help this along with the Gatorade and water. It's like, see if somehow, he's like, you can fit into your budget, like, he's like, it doesn't have to be, you know, the best quality, but like middle of the line. Some type of red meat. And again, I laughed. I said, you don't seem to understand. I said, when it comes to what I'm telling you financially. I said, I could not fit that into my, make that fit that into my budget no matter what. I said it. Prices are too expensive. I don't have enough money. It's that simple. I can't. So I said, what about, people that just don't eat meat, like vegetarians, vegans? He's like, yeah. He's like, but generally speaking, when people decide to go that route, they do their research and they know where to get iron from other sources. And he goes, quite honestly, any patient I've ever dealt with that's a vegetarian or vegan is on iron pills. So I'm like, do you think that just the iron pills will be enough? And he's like, yes, but it's going to obviously take a little bit longer for the levels to go up. He's like, if it's not also in your diet. I said, well, that's fine, because there ain't no way I can afford a steak. Like, if you think. No. Like, that's cute, but I'm like, unless you're paying for it, there's no... Which he chuckled, and he's like, yeah, I can't ethically do that. But, like, there's just no way. There's no way that that's going to be happening. So he just advised me, make sure I come to my appointment to get the blood draw so they can see actually the numbers. Start taking the B12 that I have on hand. He's like, get yourself the iron pills. He's like, I know they upset your stomach, but, there is no... The alternative is death. Period. Like, I know. Trust me. I remember. So, and then he said, as far as working, he's like, I would just say, if the cramps or the spasms are just nonstop and or really painful when they happen, or just continue to happen out of the blue, he goes, I would see, he goes, if you can, reasonably speaking, not work for a couple days, try to get your electrolytes balanced with food also, as well as Gatorade and water. And he goes, just for the safety factor of it. He's like, now I cannot stop you from working. He's like, but clearly, he goes, it's a concern of yours, and I hear you. You need to do that in order to pay your bills. But he goes, at the same time, that all becomes irrelevant if you get into a fatal crash, and so I'm like, I hear you. I'm like, I do definitely feel like I've got to try no matter what, because I just don't have the luxury of not. I don't have the luxury of having this issue and giving it a couple days to resolve with really ramping up my intake of electrolytes. I just don't have the time. I said I've already let it take a couple days for me, and it's like, I'll never be, I said, to afford a steak, whether at the grocery store or from a restaurant, either way, I said it literally will take me about 3 months to save up for just one. I said, so with that being my financial situation, I really need to work. And he goes, yeah, you also really need to balance your electrolytes. Heard. Understood. fully agreed. But I said the thing is, what's different from when I was 18, I have no help. I have no... If I don't work, that's it. There's no... Nobody's coming to my rescue. I don't have... You know, I just, you know, like, things are different. Like, I don't have any type of safety net. I don't have anybody that's going to step up and even, I said quite frankly, not just help me financially, but I'm like, I don't even have anyone that's going to take this seriously. I said the one person that I did talk to about it made me feel like I was so wrong in questioning, am I dehydrated? Are my electrolytes off still? Like, is this the issue? Because that's what it feels like, other than it feeling like the cramping I had when I had COVID, you know, that whole time when I was lying about everything, which I still do. I mean, everything I say is a lie. But, yeah, so I'm like, well, I can't assure you that I'm not gonna work because I don't have really a choice. The only thing I can say is that I'm gonna get more Gatorade. I already was going to get more bananas and just try to, and then get the iron pills, and then utilize the B12 that I have, which I do semi-frequently anyways, but since before the blood draw, he's just going by my previous history and all of that, so it could be that my iron is much lower than my B12, but usually they go together. And that's for everyone, not just me. Just FYI. Another lie that I'm telling you guys. Doesn't matter to me if you believe it. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't believe me and you choose not to, because then when something happens to you, you're gonna be like, well, it's definitely not this, because this one girl that I hate for no reason on social media said that's what was going on with her, and she was feeling the same. So it's not that, because she was lying. Okay. Karma, do yourself a disservice. I do not care. The only reason that I came on to share this was because I wondered if, because this, whatever I was supposed to receive to help with my electrolytes, I didn't. And I don't know if that was just somebody forgot or it was an empty statement. I haven't a clue. But I am not going to continue to go back and be like, by the way, like, I am unsubscribing from that roller coaster of just, did you not say that? Did I hear it wrong? Oh, I heard it wrong? Okay, well, let me go then and institutionalize myself, because clearly I've got much bigger problems than any doctor would ever realize, because I'm hearing things being said that clearly are not. That's a little bit of sarcasm there, because, like, I know I'm not. I know what was said to me, but in any case, is there anything that anyone else uses for hydration and or electrolytes that is not water or Gatorade that I might not be aware of, that really works for you, really helps you? I could use any suggestions or advice when it comes to that, because if there's something that's better or potentially an additional thing, then I would definitely consider that and look into it. So, is there anything you guys have used for electrolytes and hydration that has actually helped, made a difference, that is seemingly, for whatever reason, maybe better than Gatorade? Let me know. Please share, because all I want is just this to not even be happening, which seems like the theme song of my life the past few years, but whatever. So I really just want to be able to, like, get myself back to some type of health, good health, without it taking forever. So that's my only question. And then I know there's other foods that are rich in iron beside meat, but they always tell me red meat, because they're like the other foods you have to eat way more. They're like, as deficient as I was, and if I'm not deficient again, they're like, it's just, you're not gonna be able to increase it just with diet in a timely manner. And he's like, especially now, he's like, back when you were 18, I don't quite recall. He's like, I think you were working and in school. He's like, I believe that you, at the very least you were in school. And I said, yeah, I said, I wasn't working yet, but I was in school. And so he's like, I understand, now, like, it's even more, how would you say it, important that this corrects itself quickly. Like, I don't have a month or two for it to correct itself. I can't sit here and not work for a month or two. Like, even a week or two. No. And he totally gets it, but he's like, I hear you, but at the same time, and I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, I effectively then will be homeless, and all of this that we're discussing will be irrelevant, because it's just, I'm like, I have to maintain the balance somehow. So, just a PSA of, like, do not listen to anything or anyone else other than your gut, your previous experiences, and your doctor. Screw people who dismiss you. Screw people who don't believe you. Screw people who you've been talking to about this for weeks and just keep saying, oh, it's not bad, it's, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Well, my doctor would disagree. Finally, I'm happy that I realized on my own, like, Kara, why are you listening to somebody else? What are you doing? You know better. Your body is telling you something is not right. And yet you're asking somebody that is not a doctor and has no clue or understanding of your previous health history questions. And all they care about is that you go out and work and make money with somewhat good intention. But also, it's very clear they don't want to have to be the ones to feel obligated to help you if you aren't able to work. So I'm like, screw all of that nonsense. Contact my doctor. See what the hell my doctor has to say. Like, that, I'm like, I don't know why that didn't occur to me sooner, but I think because I was so, like, convinced, even though I didn't really, I wasn't convinced, but I was being convinced, like, it was just like, no, you're not dehydrated, your electrolytes are fine, that's not the situation, it's that you're sitting there tense all the time, and that's why. Well, I've sat tense all the time since my entire life. That's, I think, what initially part of the reason I've had back problems since I was in 7th grade. So I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Because I didn't want to get into a disagreement, and I didn't want to get into a pissing contest of like, I know better about my own health and body than you do. I just didn't want to get into it. Because I'm like, the last time I get into anything, I said some words that were hurtful, but at the same time, I wanted them to be hurtful. Because you are hurting me with your words, or lack of. So finally, I snapped with my mouth and was like, look, the fuck did you, how, all the things. And they were like, nobody has ever spoken to me like that before. Only you, but nobody else. Well, that's congratulations. Give yourself a pat on the back. I don't care. Doesn't make me a worse person. It just makes me the one person in your life who is never, ever, not for a second, been fake about anything. But I have felt very, like, okay, I can only repeat myself so many times, and I just keep getting the same answer back, like there's no concern that anything could actually be going on other than I'm sitting here, and I'm just sitting here tense. That's why I'm having muscle spasms in my legs, in my stomach. That don't even make sense, really. It's like, you would think that would be mostly your upper back, neck, shoulders, but whatever. I felt the pressure to just be like, yeah, no, that's not happening, or like, yeah, it's gotten better, or like, yeah, it's not, it's nothing else. Like, yeah, I'm definitely not dehydrated. My electrolytes are definitely not unbalanced. You're so right. Even though my body was virtually screaming at me that something was wrong. And even though I don't have blood test result numbers yet, I'll have them soon enough, something is wrong. Or my doctor would not have said what he said, nor called me back as quickly as he did. Which I was like, I even said when I picked up, I said, that's the fastest turnaround time ever, and that's saying a lot, because you're very quick to respond. But I'm like, I'm assuming that what you saw in the my chart, what I wrote, is what is more serious than not, because you gave me a call back. You didn't just reply to my message. Sherry, you can go away. Like, at any time, day or night, you can go away. You continue to come on with your negativity, your bullshit, and all of the rest. Nobody wants it. You're one of the people who, like I've said, it's much more easier for you to spread negativity, hate, and cruelty than it is for you to spread butter on bread. So just see yourself out of my life. You're not welcome here. I can't seem to block you because you probably have 25 different profiles like everybody else that I've tried to block. Nobody wants your negativity. Nobody needs it. Nobody wants to see it on here. Okay? We all find it disgusting. And that goes for every and anybody who comes on here with a negative nonsense bullshit. Period. It just is what it is. And if you feel some kind of way about the words that I just said, I really don't give a shit. It's your own damn fault. Go look in the mirror. Okay? Okay. Bye. Have a day. Now, something else that I've not shared that's been going on because I don't have dental insurance, so I can't do anything about it. And I was told that I was going to be helped, but that got taken back. But the tooth that I chipped is now, there ain't nothing there. But what is there, like tooth-wise, there ain't nothing there. But what is there, you guys can see. See that little thing filled with pus? See, there's proof. This is not AI. You can clearly see it's my gum. You can clearly see that. Sherry, you're so funny. You've never... Okay. Can you just go away? Go away. Like, this is not a joking matter. And if you want to see how much this is not a joking matter, you can privately text me and call me 773-849-3257. Everybody already has my number anyways, and it's a matter of public record. But if you'd like to speak, as you do on here, to me privately, let's do that. Okay? Guaranteed you won't use that number. Guaranteed. Here you're safe, right? You can say whatever you want. I'm limited to what I can say back to you. Privately, it is not the case, so you'll never go there. It's okay. A coward is a coward. What can I do? So, that has been a thing that's been going on. Now, I will say I've not had pain. I've not had discomfort. I do notice that it's there. Like, in brushing my teeth and just, if I, like, rub my tongue along it, like, I know it's there. It's not gotten any smaller or bigger, but it's been there for quite some time. And I have not said anything because I don't have dental insurance. And the person that was supposed to help with that just is back and forth of, like, are they going to help with this? Are they not going to help with this? Do they even remember saying they were going to help with this? I have no clue. So I'm like, let it be whatever it's going to be because I don't have the money to pay out of pocket and I don't have insurance. So, dental insurance, to be specific. So, yeah. But it just goes to show, like, I am at a point where I am scared to share everything with this person because they dismiss things and then they, with this empty gesture of, like, I'm going to help you with this, and then it never comes to fruition. So I'm like, well, okay. Maybe don't bring that up. But I did share about the muscle spasm. So I'm like, whoops, that's my bad. It's got to go across the board. Like, no matter what is the issue, just don't share it. You've got to just stop talking to basically any and everyone about everything because you're going to continuously be told all of these things that dismiss anything that is the actual problem or issue or potential problem or issue. And then you're going to be in a worse situation than you are now in every way, shape, and form. So, definitely going by my doctor's orders, but I'm not necessarily sticking to like, don't work if it's still, these spasms are still happening and at the frequency that they are, and just as bad as that. So, like, yeah, I fully understand, like, it's not safe to be behind the wheel like this. But there is nothing that's gonna pay my bills except for me. Nothing, no one. So, my hands are kind of tied. Like, I don't know. And so I put in a grocery order, and I've got, cause I'm like, I looked and I'm like, I can't afford any of these steaks. Like, this is a fucking joke. Like, any of the ones that are lean enough, that have enough iron, it's a joke. Like, no way. Like, if I want to not eat the last week of the month, sure, I can afford one or two. I'm like, I can't afford this. And I looked at burgers. What a joke. Like, I can't even afford these. Can't even afford these. But I did buy a package of burgers because it was cheaper than buying one steak, and you get, I think, 6 burgers or 8 burgers. So I'm like, at least you get more out of it. I don't know how much iron versus a lean cut of meat, because that's not lean. You know what the difference is, but I'm like, it's really irrelevant, because no matter what, I ain't got the money. So, I mean, hell, realistically, I don't even have the money to get the iron pills. But like I said, it just occurred to me that I forgot to tell him, can you write a prescription for it, because then the pharmacy can bill it and then it's free. So, there's that. And I'm sure that's something that just didn't cross his mind, because, you know, most people can afford $4. And as I talk, like, the spasms are just doing their thing. So I'm trying to keep the most positive mindset that I can about this, because I just am like, can I catch a fucking break? Like, quite honestly, like, to the universe, like, how many things in a row are going to happen to prevent me from working? And even some of these things I've still went out and worked, because I'm like, I can't, like, there is no way that I can't. Like, I could be laying here with a broken leg and ain't nobody gonna help nothing. And then people will probably, well, that's a fake cast or some shit. I don't even want to know. But, I'm like, can we just stop with their things being in my way? Like, oh my god. And what sparked me to finally contact my doctor was that the spasming and cramping, I don't know which one you would call it. I think at times they're different and that's both is happening. But it actually woke me up. It was that bad. Now, it's never done that before, like, where it's woken me up. So I'm like, okay, something is wrong here, regardless of what know-it-alls think and what other people think or believe. Something is going on. I can't continue to dismiss it or deny it just because everybody else is. Like, no, I'm gonna need to let my doctor know and see what he has to say. So that is just where I'm at. And like I said, if there's anything that anyone uses that helps more so than Gatorade does with balancing your electrolytes, please let me know. I'm truly, like, at my wit's end as far as there continues to be, like, it's like, can we just pause the nonsense so I can do what I need to do? But the universe apparently is like, no, you're gonna continue to have problems. It may work again come August, but until then, good luck, have fun living in your car, all of the above. And I refuse to let that be something that comes to fruition. So I'm like, I've went out and worked, I've had muscle spasms and cramps happening, and I've literally, like, yelled because it hurts. And just continued working. But it is absolutely not the safest thing to put yourself behind the wheel when that's going on. So, but nobody cares about that. They just are like, oh, work, make money, because ain't nobody gonna help you if you don't. And even if it means that you're putting yourself behind the wheel, very, high chance that this is gonna be very unsafe, potentially, that don't matter. And I get it. To an extent. It doesn't to other people. Nothing about me matters to other people. I get it. And I'm not asking that you all of a sudden change your feelings about me. I'm just asking for suggestions. If you have any, if there's anything that you use, it's like for hydration, for keeping your electrolytes balanced, that I may not have heard of, may not know of, or just I may have heard of it, but am not aware that it's a lot better or faster working than a Gatorade. Like, if there's anything that definitely works faster, that is also helpful, because I need to just be back to being able to fully do things without having these spasms occur, because I have worked even still. But it's a little tricky, to put it mildly. Because I know every time I do, with this going on, I'm putting myself in an unsafe situation. But I just let that be, let it fly out of my head, and then just keep repeating what certain people's know-it-all feelings are, is that you're not dehydrated, your electrolytes aren't off balance, you're perfectly fine. This is all just you trying to make excuses, there's nothing else going on. It's just, these cramps are here, but, whatever, it can't, it's nothing serious. You're fine, you're not gonna crash, you're gonna be okay. When I've really not felt that way. Which in and of itself is a really crappy feeling, and really lonely feeling, because it's like, here I am again, and nobody even, not even cares, but nobody even believes it, let alone cares. wonderful that this is a consistent thing in my life. Wonderful. Love it. But that is the reality, and it has been the reality for basically my whole life, because in a sense, my whole life, I would say, because anytime that there was something wrong with me, even as a little kid, they're doing their thing. Even as a little kid, whenever I would have to go to the emergency room, which was not something that I was saying, like, hey, I need to go to the ER, it was something my mom and Olga were deciding based on whatever the heck was wrong with me. Well, my dad always needed about half an hour to an hour of them convincing him that there was anything wrong. And then when he would finally succumb to their wishes of taking me to the emergency room so that I was okay, he was never nothing but impatient, a complete terror, all of that, and that's never changed. So I've always been dealing with this type of dynamic. Thank God it never came from my mom or Olga, but to a certain extent, this is not in any way new. But it is finally taking its toll as far as, like, I'm in this alone. I will never not be in this alone. There will never be a time where anybody even believes me, let alone does anything to go out of their way to help or care or anything. Like, I would already, like, just for an example, if I was listening to somebody else say what I'm saying right now, and it was somebody that I knew in real life, right, and that obviously, like, lived not that far from me, I would already be on the way to their house with iron pills. If they lived in a different state, it would already be on the way to them via Uber Eats or DoorDash or whatever is in their area. It's not going to happen with me. Because in order to care about something, you have to first believe that it's actually happening. So, and it's fine, because this is this has been the way it's been. No matter what I do on my end. But it does start to take its toll. So it is what it is. Nobody will care if I'm okay or not. Nobody will care about anything that has to do with me. Stop. So, in any case, I don't know that being on is helping my spasms, making them worse, or just making them stay the same. I don't know. But I really just wonder if there's anything out there that anybody would like to share, even privately or whatever, that is quicker acting than Gatorade as far as balancing your electrolytes or hydrating you, anything, any advice, anything that you guys may have to offer, I would appreciate, because I just want this to not be actually happening, but I also just need to take care of it the quickest I possibly can. So, with that being said, I'm gonna jump off. And that's about it. So I hope everybody has a great day today. And I'll be back, or potentially I never will again. Either way, it won't matter to anybody one way or the other. So, it is what it is. Love and positive and healthy vibes to everybody. Talk to you when I talk to you, or I won't.